guided buying, like you can see right here, to access Forms Builder, you would go to this tab right here, you click Admin, and go to Manage Forms. Once in Manage Forms, you have the ability to create a blank template or access different templates that you've already created. You have permissions here to switch by created all, and then you have time frames that you can filter by. And also don't lose track of the different templates. So this is a template that you can utilize. Some of the information is in draft, some of it is already published. So you have access to all that information. When accessing Forms Builder from a buying and invoicing type of solution or a buying solution, the access looks the same. It's just that the way you navigate to that administrative page is different, has changed. So to do that, you would then click Manage Forms and Extensions. Once the page loads, it looks almost identical to guided buying. It's just that the system navigation has changed. Now that you got an idea of how to navigate to the Forms Builder, let's talk about some of the features that are in Forms Builder that you might want to utilize. As a friendly reminder, to access, you go to Manage Forms and Extensions if you're in the Buying and Invoicing module. Once here, you can then navigate to the form that you want to modify. I pre-created a form. It's in draft. I haven't published it. So I would then click on Draft, Sample Form Payment Request. So I'm going to click here. And then I'm going to say Edit this draft. From there, I am in the form section. A couple of things to note. You have form settings. Form settings are controlling the form itself. For example, Sample Form Payment is the name that I've given it. Form can be named whatever you'd like. Instructions is the type below it. So if I turn this off, that disappears. If I turn it back on, and then it turns it back on. If I can require a document title, if I turn that on, it adds a title field. If I turn it off, it removes it. So now that we've talked about the title, I want to now focus on some of the fields and what those fields mean. This is a drag and drop system. So if you wanted to include additional fields, all you do is single click and drag it onto the screen. So the field that I just dragged, an input field. Input fields are free type text, very simple fields. To modify the field settings specifically, you would click on the field and it would bring you to properties, and then you can change the name. So if this was an actual person's name, you can type name and it would change the label on the left. Input fields are very good for capturing names, and with some of the new release information on a set value, you can pre-populate the end user who's creating the form. I will go through this in a more advanced session later on. Text fields are used for descriptions. So if you wanted to add a descriptive information to the field, you would use a text. Date and time, pretty self-explanatory. This could be due date or the date it created, the date it is needed by. You can actually remove the time. So by clicking here, you'll see that I can include the date, I can remove the date, I can include the time, I can remove the time. Currency, also pretty self-explanatory. You can also pick the right currency. You can default that currency in. Data chooser. Now this field has a lot of features baked into it. It's basically pulling information from your procure-to-pay solution and making it accessible to, such as accounts. If I click here, you'll see a long list of items that you can include. So this data chooser has a lot of features behind it. Commodity codes, company codes, cost centers, names, user fields, WBS element if you're an SAP ECC backend. There's a lot of features that you can use in this data chooser. Scrolling down, so the data chooser would be right here. Scrolling down, you have the checkbox. Checkbox, you can select and check different items. It's like a multi-select. Multiple choice is, think of it as a multiple choice test. You would select one option, but you have multiple answers that you can choose from. Drop-down menu allows you to provide different options. You can add those options right here by clicking Add More. And if you wanted to default to a specific option, you would hit the circle here. Paragraph is used for more of an instruction. What you'll notice here is this is a 2-column split. If I wanted to make this along a full column, I can drag this down here, and that text would flow across from left to right the full length rather than splitting in the middle. That's the difference between these numbers here. One is a split, the other is one big column from left to right. The section header is used to head the section. So if I wanted to put specific headings on these left and right columns, I can do that. I can also put a section heading here, you know, basic detail information. So whatever kind of information that you want to include here, you can incorporate that in. Lastly, you have an attachment and a website. An attachment is pretty self-explanatory. Once again, it's just adding a file. Website is including a specific URL that you want people to jump to. This is very useful if information is stored on a SharePoint or information is in a separate system where you can provide a link to that system. That summarizes the Forms Builder Basic. Keep an eye out for additional Forms Builder content. We'll be going through more advanced features and functions.